Hello, and welcome to the Late Afternoon Show. As always, I'm Hannah Scarin.
And I'm Rob Giada.
Let's get started with some political updates from Iowa and New Hampshire. Cruz and Clinton came out ahead in Iowa, but the Cruz campaign raised some controversy when they released an email claiming Ben Carson was quitting and encouraged Carson supporters to vote for Cruz. Trump claims Cruz stole these votes and wants a, quote, do-over. If this unprecedented do-over is in fact granted, I'm sure Al Gore would find this truth rather inconvenient.
Personally, we don't blame these Carson supporters for deserting because we can't tell if the man is even awake half the time. Now, further down the rankings, Marco Rubio has asserted that he will not wait any longer to take our country back.
But let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Marco Rubio doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Which is, of course, not winning any primaries and embarrassing himself at debates.
On the other side of things, Bernie Sanders lost to Clinton by 0.3% in Iowa. Sanders then went on to win New Hampshire along with Trump. Now all that remains for these two New Yorkers is to maintain their hold over their parties. What do you think, Hannah?
Let's dispel once and for all this fiction that Marco Rubio doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
That doesn't answer my question.
Oh, I know. Let us dispel once and for all this fiction that I don't know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Now, last episode we advised you to cancel your South American travel plans on account of the Zika virus. Well, now you have even fewer spring break destinations. Cases of the virus have been reported in Florida, causing southern counties to declare a state of emergency. But since Florida is basically a cesspool of mosquitoes, gators, and rich old white people, maybe a statewide epidemic wouldn't be so bad. There is a reason that Florida's nickname is God's waiting room.
Our senior Florida correspondent even chimed in with his proposed solution.
South America, take it away!
Turns out, the Zika virus has been affecting people for a long time. We've just ignored it because no one seems to care about epidemics until they affect white people. Anyway, the epidemic has gotten so severe that it has forced Central American countries like El Salvador to beg its citizens not to get pregnant while the virus remains a threat.
This is easier said than done, though, because abortions are illegal in El Salvador, and access to birth control is far and few between.
So, basically, if you're in El Salvador, don't get pregnant, but also don't have abortions, but also don't use birth control. Basically, just don't have sex. It's about to be a sad, lonely 2 years for El Salvadorians.
Also this week, scientists discovered that the high Arctic was once home to a giant flightless bird.
I didn't realize that Dean Boyer used to live in the Arctic.
Low blow, Rob. But this was 53 million years ago. He's not that old.
I am not so sure about that.
Speaking of flightless birds, Martin Shkreli. You may know him as the pharmaceutical CEO who raised the price of the life-saving drug Daraprim by about 5,000%. Last week, he was summoned before Congress on charges of securities fraud, but refused to say anything and repeatedly cited everyone's favorite amendment, the Fifth.
Shkreli reportedly kept a smug grin on his face the entire time, and afterwards tweeted, "Hard to accept that these imbeciles represent the people in our government. But we must applaud you, Martin Shkreli, for topping your previous accomplishments. You've truly done the impossible. You've made us sympathize with members of Congress."
And now for news on a more massive scale, scientists have, for the first time, recorded gravitational waves, or as econ majors would call them, what? Rob, you're a physics major. Can you explain more?
Now, this discovery proves one of the key tenets of Einstein's theory of general relativity. The apparatus the scientists use, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, or LIGO, is incredible, measuring minuscule laser perturbations over a 4-kilometer track. Despite having the precision to detect something as small as a human hair or Martin Shkreli's penis 2 light years away, LIGO can only detect the gravitational ripples of really, really, really big energetic objects. That's how faint this data is. In this case, they recorded 2 black holes colliding billions of light years away, millions of years ago, in an event which at the time produced more energy than the rest of the universe combined in that instant. That data was translated into this sound. There. That little chirp at the end is the sound astrophysicists have been looking for. So, just remember, you may think you're wrong now, but about 100 years from now, you might be proven right.
In other tech news, Google announced this week that they're focusing on new projects and moving away from smartphone development. Darn it, says that one loser you know with an Android.
I have an Android, Hannah.
Exactly. Anyway, in other news, 49 atheists have banded together to sue Congress and get the phrase, "In God We Trust," removed from the currency, saying it violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. Like other similar cases that roll around every few years, the court always manages to find a way to prove that there is no legal standing for this. Sometimes we wonder whether someone else is pulling the strings to get these cases kicked out. Republicans, are you there? It's us, the Late Afternoon Show.
Now, a student at London University received the biggest disappointment of her life this week. No, not a bad grade. No, not the crushing weight of society, but rather her Kit Kats did not have wafers in them. Folks, I can't even make this up. Her disappointment was so profound that she made the most logical decision. She demanded a lifetime supply of Kit Kats, or she would file a lawsuit.
All of this work over what was probably still a good bite of chocolate?
Yeah, I'd expect this kind of behavior from an unrefined American, but from a fellow Brit, truly, all of us proud Anglo-Saxons, from Her Majesty Helen Mirren to the Queen, find this to be one of the biggest examples of first world problem if we've ever heard one.
Speaking of odd lawsuits, a class action lawsuit has been filed against EOS, or the egg-shaped lip balm company. And by that, I mean the lip balm is shaped like an egg, not the company. I hate English.
The lawsuit was brought to them because the lip balm caused unsightly breakouts. After the company did more testing and confirmed that all the ingredients were safe, it settled the lawsuit by promising to add more directions to their packaging.
What more can they really say, though? Apply to lips. Do not apply anywhere that is not lips.
I just don't know. I don't know. Now, in other news, many of you last Sunday watched the Broncos win the 50th rendition of the Super Bowl.
We're not allowed to say that word unless we get the express written consent of the NFL commissioner.
Watched the 50th rendition of the big game. As the Broncos scored what would be the final touchdown, the camera cut to Peyton Manning's brother Eli, who wore this now infamous face upon seeing his big brother win the game.
Eli later released a statement explaining his disappointed expression. "I was just focused on whether they'd go for two," he explained, and the defense had to step up and make some stops.
Nice try, but let's dispel once and for all with his fiction that Eli Manning doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Well, that's all for this week. Remember, you may be where fun goes to die.
But at least you're not in Florida, where it's warm and sunny and it's not snowing. It's nice.
Enjoy your late afternoon.